Blog Talk Radio.
We welcome the night.
Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host, Ian. Ian, are you there?
I am.
It is great for you to be here, and that is because we are concluding our Indie-Pendence Horror Marathon. And we did something we haven't done in a while, and we co-watched the film, believe it or not. We found a way to do that. And we are, man, we got one for the books.
Yeah.
And this one's special because this is, I'm well versed in this director's filmography, and this is Ian's first foray into his works. And again, it's not like the first gory movie Ian's ever seen, but it's definitely more underground in a sense. I mean, I know I've shown Ian a lot of stuff over the years on the show, but this is probably one of the more gorier and more out there efforts that I think I've made you sit through. Yeah. But I think there's a lot to discuss here, and there's just a lot to get into once we get deeper into the conversation. But I might as well go ahead and say our film for review is the latest offering from Brain Paulin, and that is his film called Septic. And like I said, I'm well versed in his filmography. I've seen everything except for Morbid Tales, but I haven't got around to that one yet. And I was like, and his films, again, you know what you're getting into with a Brain Paulin film. You know you're getting one minor plot to help move things along, and then you're just going to get covered in blood and gore. And that is pretty much, everything is tossed at you. And this one is his more human aspect, because every other film of his, there's always a supernatural tone. Like with Bone Sickness, that has zombies, so you have the dead coming back, the dead and zombies and all that. And then you have Fetus, which is about reincarnation, and about honestly, Septic and Fetus are kind of similar in tone, because that is about a man who lost his wife and child, and this one's about a couple wanting a child. So it's kind of similar, even though that has a great scene. That's my favorite, Fetus. But this is a close second, Septic. But then you have Blood Pigs, which again, sort of zombies, but there's that supernatural tone. And then Cryptic Plasm has body horror, sort of Lovecraft, otherworldly tone to it. So this is his first sort of human aspect of his films. And my goodness, holy fuck. And there's going to be a lot of cursing, because there's no way to fucking go about this, because this is an in-your-face film. And it is from that way pretty much from the start. And there's just no way to shy around it, shy away from it. And because it's just fucking in your face, gore, blood, everything. And it's not I mean, it's definitely not for the squeamish, and it's definitely not for the average casual horror fan. This is some underground, dark, disturbing. I mean, this is, I wouldn't say it's like a Serbian film levels, but there's like small aspects. I mean, there's one scene in here where, I mean, it's not that scene in a Serbian film. I mean, the main scene that makes the Serbian film stand out. But what he decides to do with certain, fetuses is something else. You know, that's the best way I can put it. I mean, it's just like, you know what? It's not pushing it, but I'm gonna do something different that you wouldn't see or expect, and he definitely does that. But we'll get into this. But yeah, like I said, it's his most human, and it's just fucking brutal, and I loved that about this film. But let me get into the story. I mean, like I said, very, very small, minor plot that helps move the story forward, and everything happens around it. So we have this couple, and they've been trying to have a kid, right? And so they can't do that. No matter what they do, they're just not compatible to have a kid. So they have to go about a different way to have a kid. And that way is through the most obscure way you can think of, the dark web, the deep, dark web of snuff films and red rooms. And they have to come up with a way for the female of the couple to become pregnant. And they come up with an idea. Again, this is very later on, but they come up with an idea that they have to have a donor, and she needs a donor. And so the fact that they have to go through a red room is that the donor has to die. And they have to go through this procedure, and there's like all these people out there. Again, the dark web. I mean, some disturbing shit out there. And everything, people, $1 Million Man says everyone has a price. And so they have to go through this ordeal of a switch, in an interesting switch, I might add, because you're wondering, like, what kind of switch is it? Well, I really don't want to give that away because it's fucking amazing. Just that whole build-up and that scene in general, just like, where's this, because you have that one girl, like, oh, my God, it's going to pay good, I'm going to be famous, the money's going to be good, and, again, there's a scene before that, too, with something else, and, man, there's just so much in with this film, and it's just, you really can't, I don't want to give everything away, because this is just one of those films where you just need to bask in it. You just need to let it overcome you. You need to be filthy. You need to be covered in blood and slime and all kinds of fucking everything coming from all the orifices and just lather you up. And you're just sitting there just filthy and dirty and just like wallowing in your own, filth, basically, with this film. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, this film is just fucking amazing. And everyone's going to have, like, certain films, on their best of the year list. And this is a 2022 film. This one's my top. This outdoes X. It outdoes Scream. It outdoes everything. I had the fucking best time with this film. And it is fucking crazy. Like, everyone's going to think, oh, my God, Ty West. Fuck Ty West. He's overrated. All right? This is fucking great shit. This right here. I don't care if I'm the sick individual that loves this kind of stuff. Like, I love this film. And I had the most fun time. I think you heard me in, like, one scene. I was just dying.
Yeah.
I was just, like, having the best time of my fucking life with this thing. And that is just, and plus I didn't really want to leave. Once the film ended, I didn't want to leave the fucking world it built. I was just like, I want to go deeper. That's all, like, oh my God, I can't believe you want to go deeper with all the shit that happened on screen. Like, yeah, I didn't want to leave. I was, like, wrapped up in this fucking dark web, red room shit, and all the shit that was going down. And trust me, I got a list of stuff that I'm going to go down of all the nicknames I gave some of the scenes, because I really don't want to give all the scenes away, like, in detail, because that just loses its, factor, and I just don't want someone to go in there knowing all the shit that goes down. And because this is just fucking, it's out there, and I loved it, and I had the best time watching it, and it's my favorite of the year. I don't care what anyone says. This was great, and I had so much fun with it, and I just like everything. Like, where's this going? Where's it going? Because it gets deeper and deeper, and it just gets so more, vile as the film goes along, because like it's so human, and like this is actually human horror, like in a sense like a Serbian film, where it's just like keeps going dark, deeper and deeper down this dark path. I mean, it's not as disturbing, like someone would say like a Serbian film would, or Martyrs or anything like that. There's no deeper meaning. This is just humans being deplorable, and it's just full on bloodshed. Like gore spraying everywhere, body parts being dismembered. There's everything, and no one is safe. Ian, your thoughts? And this is your first Brian Paulin film, too. This is a fucking introductory.
Well, there was the movie was pretty interesting. I really enjoyed the story. And I know it was a very simple little push forward, like you said, to get to where we were. I kind of was expecting gore. I wasn't expecting as much. I'm definitely glad my wife didn't walk in, because that kind of stuff really, really gets to her. She won't even let me talk about the movie because it freaks her out too bad. I wasn't prepared. Not that I care. Like, it didn't faze me. I've seen, worse, especially being a youth on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was a pretty fun time with the movie. Other than, my only issue was the audio in the beginning of the movie. I couldn't really, hear it very well, because it did get loud in some spots, so we had to keep it kind of down, and my headphones weren't cooperating with me very well. But that was my only thing. But after the movie got kind of progressed, everything fell into place. I hear, the audio fixed it. It sounded really well toward the middle. But man, honestly, I know this, to the average non-gory fans out there might sound a little fucked up, but some of those gore scenes were gorgeous. Like, freaky gorgeous. Like, I actually started, some parts where it's just like, oh, I kind of felt a little squeamish, because he did such a good job. And that's what, I haven't felt that when it came to gore in a while. And, we've talked about movies that have an overabundance of gore, and how we talk about less is more, and then sometimes we talk about how we wish there was more. And I felt like this movie did a pretty good job at, knowing what it wanted with it and portraying that, on screen. Like, I didn't feel like it was just, nothing just was out of the ordinary, like, just completely left field, unnecessary, because of the, it fit in with the plot. So I really enjoyed that aspect of that, where it made sense to the story and not just there for a cheap grab, but yeah, no, I had pretty good time with it, and there was a couple of scenes where I definitely heard you laugh real loud, and that was
that shows the deeper meaning with now, Ian. Like, when anything happens with a baby, I'm a wreck, because I don't know why.
Feeding. my child at that time.
Yeah.
Like, I was feeding my baby.
I'm pretty sure there's moments in here where you're like, damn, he's a sick individual. But no, I'm like, honestly, I'm not going to shy away from it. Yeah. But
I busted out laughing because, like, right when it happened, my child was falling asleep while he was eating, and he landed his head right in my hand, and then, like, I look over, and it's that, and I was like, well, that's comedic timing. But yeah, no, like.
But no, as you were saying, I don't want to break you off here, but like how you're like saying the gore was almost like beautiful and gorgeous, and like that's like because I think Brian, he's up there with like Ittenbach with like the way he perceives gore. I mean, he's like the American Olaf Ittenbach in a sense because he does it. Again, this is a guy that just makes films, in his house. I mean, he literally made this film. Most of his films are in his house or around his neighborhood. And this is a project that started out as a short film, and then it like the film progresses, it just goes down a rabbit hole. And it took 5 years for this film to be what it is. And I think he managed to take his time and hone the film to where he needed it to go directly, and all the effects and all the things that he wanted to do, and properly pan them, like plan them ahead, and it just works gorgeous. It's beautiful. In a sense, because it's like he's working on a canvas. Like each death is a fucking canvas of death. Like just like, oh, you don't think we can top it? Here's fucking 20 minutes of nonstop insanity, of rib cage getting ripped open and heads dismembered and throats slit and people getting melted, and it's just, oh my God, it's just like he's going about it like a different way too. Like, oh, she's gonna go in an acid bath, but it's not the acid bath you think it is. They do it fucking a different take, and it's like, holy shit. And then you have that, and it's like what happens before that with the thing that happens with her donor. There's something that happens with her, with the donor, the body part she had to get inserted into her, and there's just like stuff that goes on there, and then there's children, there's a baby, there's all, there's like what they do, and just like, oh, we got to get rid of the body. You see him get rid of the body. I mean, there's no shying away from that.
Oh,
I mean, it's right there. I mean, it's graphic. It's not for the squeamish, honestly. If you're an average casual horror mainstream fan, this is real, underground horror shit. There's a film I watched about a month ago. I got this and Septic around the same time. Septic and the one I'm about to talk about called Followers of the Dead Light. And it's a Yan Chaos film. And again, Yan Chaos is another one that does like extreme gore, just like obscene stuff. And that film starts, and again, it's going to be graphic. That scene starts, the movie starts with a woman in a bathtub, naked. And then the guy, he starts jacking, masturbating, and then he stubs the steel rod up his penis in his dick hole. And then he takes it out because he's, erect, and then he chops his dick off, and then he ejaculates blood onto the girl in the bathtub. And I was like, all right, I was like, that's what you want, to start a film off with. Sadly, that one kind of just meanders around for 2 hours. But again, it's just like that extreme. This isn't, safe for human consumption in a sense. I mean, it's definitely for those interested in the subversive and the underground extreme market. This isn't your, if you like mainstream stuff, you're not going to like this. I mean, if like Peter Jackson's Dead Alive is like the campy, over-the-top, cheesy sort of zombie gore, you can handle, okay, this isn't for you because this is going places, and it, like if you couldn't really stand like a Serbian film or like Martyrs because of like what they do with Martyrs. I mean, Martyrs is sort of mean-spirited in a way with what they do to the girl. But it's like that's still kind of tame in a sense to what fucking happens in Septic. I mean, like, again, I'm saying like a Serbian film's pretty close because it's like the similar nature of like snuff and everything like that. But even then, he takes the idea of a Serbian film with like the lead character and how he's having sex with the girl on the bed, and then he cuts her head off and still fucks her. Like, he does that in this, but it's half a torso. So it's like he tries to take the ideas that you've seen in like other films and just, you know what? I'm just going to go a different way, a different path, and just make it something there. And there's like all that stuff. It's just a fucking onslaught, and I loved every fucking second of it. It's just beautiful. And just like I might be a sick person, which I am. I'm not going to shy away from that. I am who I am. And if I enjoy this sick, like perverse cinema, so what? I mean, I'd rather have this than your most mainstream ghost crap. Like, jump scare. It's the same fucking shit over and over and over again. Yeah. Just paint by numbers shit. This, I was like, where is it going? Where is it leading? I know where it was going, but I just wanted to see what weird way he was going to take it. And I'd rather have this than any mainstream shit that gets shoved in theaters or remakes or requels or sequels or rehashes or whatever. I mean, this is better than fucking half it came out this year.
Yeah. And, like, you kind of think it's going to go one way. Like, there was some themes that I thought I was going to see because it felt like it was getting hinted at, but then it went a completely different route. And, I don't want to give too much away, but, like, with the girl, that's locked up in the room. I thought it was going to go somewhere completely different, and it didn't. And I was kind of,
Well, it was hinted at because that was what Thomas was like. I probably saved you from, far worse.
Yeah, and I know that they were.
And again, I like how it like switched. Like, you think it's going to be about this couple, but then it just switches and it's all about Thomas and like his perspective, because it's weird. It's like you think it's this couple, and then it just it's technically Thomas's story, and I love that aspect of it too, because it just switches and it's just like, no, this isn't their film, it's his film.
Yeah, and okay, so. Out of all the shit that happened in that movie, I was okay with. But as soon as I saw needles, I am terrified of needles. I got squeamish and I had to look away. So out of all of the shit that happened in this movie, the thing that got me was needles. I wanted to make that little commentary because I thought it was hilarious, because I was laughing at myself. I was like, God, this is the dumbest thing to be squeamish about, considering of what is being portrayed on the movie. Oh, God. You got to love it.
But, yeah, I'm going to run down this list of titles, of scenes, just to give you an idea. Like, some of them is pretty obvious, but they're funny titles. So, Ian, I know you're going to love some of these. The first one, again, it kind of starts the whole ball rolling, where you're getting into something weird. The stem cell heroin was interesting, and then you had the period blood painting. There's no other way to say that one. Well, there's still blood there, but it's still period blood, whatever. I mentioned it earlier. The lower half fucking. Then you have the cripple beating, and probably my favorite, the salted pretzel and cheese curds, arm and baby hammer, sister sledgehammer, the acid injection, and then I was tempted. I don't know which one to go on, so it's just a double number, whatever. You had Old Faithful or the Pussy Fruit Gusher, so you can use either or, and it works perfectly for whatever happens there. But yeah, there's just some scenes. I mean, that gives you an idea of like what happens in this film. I didn't give everything away because it's just an onslaught. Yeah,
there was a lot.
I mean, that's just an idea of what happened. Yeah, that's just an idea of like, that's the general idea of what happens in the scene. But there's just so much more, and just it's visceral and just blood sprays everywhere, and just like. It's oh man, it's gorgeous. And we're sick for saying, oh, death is gorgeous. I mean, but this is just, again, it's a movie. I mean, but it's just like so much time and articulation goes into something like that.
Special effects.
Gore. Yeah.
Is mostly what we're talking about. You know, because it's amazing. It's like how realistic you can make things, you know, with just a little time. And everything was practical. Nothing was CGI or anything like that. So, you know.
Yeah, it's like, you know, if you can't stand or stomach like the, you know, guinea pig films or even the American guinea pig films with bouquet of guts and gore, I mean, this isn't going to be for you. This is just, you know, straightforward, you know, tiny semblance of a plot just to help move things forward, and then you're on a fucking hellacious roller coaster ride of just, yeah, it's just death after death with just like the most obscene deaths, and it's just shot, and it's just a beautiful piece. I mean, it goes by too, and so it's like, damn, this is just fast-paced, and it's just like brutal, and just, oh man, it's just something to behold. And like, again, like I said earlier, like once it was like, I still wanted to go. I was like, more, keep going, you know. And that's just me being, I guess, the sick individual that I am. But I was just like, I was on a high. I think we were both on a high after that. We were just like going back and forth discussing things. Like, damn.
Yeah,
it's just one of those, you know, every now and then you get those films where you're just on a rush. And that was definitely one of them after it was over. Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, like in the beginning, like before all the, you know, things, almost everything, you know, happened, the story, I was like, you know, I wasn't really knowing what I was getting myself into, you know, because I was going in this fully blind, as I've never seen any of their films before. So, you know, just going into completely blind. I was expecting, you know, some gore the way that we were talking about, but, you know, it definitely was you know.
And I think the budget worked too as well, because the anesthetic of it just being like cheap and, you know, sort of like gritty just added to the, you know, to that factor of, you know, like, ooh, this is like something, you know, you know. It just has that feel to it too, where you just don't feel good afterwards. You know, just in a sense, for like a normal person like me, I was dying. I loved it. But it just worked for its anesthetic as well, just like the cheapness of everything. Even though it took 5 years, I know like some of those effects aren't cheap, but I'm just saying, just like the overall like look where it's like shot in like a garage or just like a back room in a house, and it's just like it just made it feel like something that, you know, something more that it just managed to achieve a little bit extra, you know.
Right. But, you know, I thought, like, in the beginning, it kind of felt like it dragged on a little bit, you know, just setting the story up, mostly because, like, you know, these people, just ordinary people trying to do things, it just felt like a, you know, just, I was like, okay, I get it that there was a setup going on, but then once, you know, we actually got to our main story, you know, I felt like that's when the movie really picked up. And then, you know, I was kind of, you know, because it kind of hints at things, and you don't really realize it until it's completely, you know, the movie's over with, the way it was going to go. So I was like, I started thinking it was going to go one way and it went another way. And I like when movies bounce around like that, you know, make you think that, you know, it makes you think, you know, it doesn't spoon feed you what's going on. And sometimes you don't need to be spoon fed. You just need to just sit back and think for yourself.
Just make a mess. Just pour it all over yourself. You know, that's technically what the film's saying. Like, here you go. Clean up after yourself afterwards. Have fun.
But it definitely, you know, builds up the story of what going.
Crescendos. Yeah.
It builds up the story. It builds up the atmosphere. And it gives you something.
Mhm.
And instead of just being jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, I'm going to give you this one really good, gore scene, and then give you nothing else for the rest of the movie. And we've seen this, wash, rinse, and repeat. And some, like I said earlier, there's sometimes some movies just kind of just overdo it, and it doesn't even feel genuine. Mm-hmm. This one actually felt like it belonged. It had its purpose. There was a place for it. Yeah, it was random and off the wall, but it was supposed to be. It blended in with the story being told, so it didn't feel weird or out of place. And I thought that was the way they did that was really kind of impressive, especially with being a low budget film and taking 5 years to make. It didn't feel like, because usually we've seen movies where they've done it, years apart, and it's lost some continuity. There's some continuity errors because, they forgot what they were doing. They had actors drop out, and it was, and this one it felt you couldn't tell. Like, you're like, oh, this took 5 years. Like, that's pretty impressive that you've kept the same story and it all just went through and it looked smooth. Mm-hmm. So I think I have to take my hat off to that, just to keep your original story and idea and keep, just keep picking it up.
That's one thing about his works, man. He keeps it. He's pretty good. I mean, some of them I like more than others. Like I said, I like Fetus a lot.
Yeah.
And I like this one. And Blood Pigs is all right. I wasn't really the biggest fan of Cryptic Plasm. That one just took too long for the build-up. It had a great payoff, but just wasn't a fan with the build-up of it. But nonetheless, like I said, this one's just I enjoyed it. I can't really say anything else. I mean, yeah, the audio was bad here and there, and the music was a little bit loud in parts. But I think that was supposed to be where it's just supposed to be, loud and in your face, abrasive. And I think it just sets the tone because it starts off with that guy getting attached to the ladder and they're beating him senseless. So it's like a old metal video from the 90s, like watching that fucking Helmet. Or the Helmet? I don't know, it might be Helmet. Or Anvil. No, it's not Anvil, it's Helmet. Nonetheless. But yeah, I do suggest, again, as we said, it's not, if you can handle this type of film, I mean, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's not for I wouldn't say for the squeamish, because, again, it's not for the squeamish. I mean, if Ian's wife wouldn't be able to handle it, it's not for the squeamish. I mean, there's worse out there, don't get me wrong. But for this and for what it does well. And it's just so straightforward, and it's in your face, and it's loud, and it's just mean in the best way possible, because, nothing is safe. Nothing is sacred. And I enjoy that. I just, sometimes you want a film that's just like, you know what, we're not going to pull the punches. We're going to punch you in the gut. It's going to hurt. You might pee a little, but you're going to sit back and you're going to take it, man up. And that's what this film does. It's just like, yeah, we're gonna do this to these people. We're gonna, nothing is sacred, and they don't shy away from it. They give it to you. And if you want to get your own copy, like I did, it's on eBay. You can just type in Septic, morbid vision films. You can buy it directly from Brian, which I did, and he'll autograph it for you too, which is my copy's autographed, so it's even better. But yeah, if you want it, that's the only way to get it, is to physically buy it. and because this shit's not sold in stores, this stuff's not going to be in theaters. This stuff's for the hardcore horror fan, the underground horror fan, the indie horror fan that likes a little bit more than just your average fucking jump scare movie or just a street thread movie. This is for the fucking ones that just brutal. You know, this is the best way I can say it. You know, this is that, like, you're in fucking middle school and you're listening to Slipknot or Cannibal Corpse. Like, this isn't for that type of person. You know, like, definitely Cannibal Corpse. You know, this is like, why are you listening to that type of music? You should be listening to this and that. Like, I like the music I like to listen to. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm young. You know, this is like showing your parents a cattle decapitation cover art. Like, Jesus Christ, and the tear rolls down her eye. Like, what is my kid listening to? You know, this is that type of person. I mean, but yeah, it's worth it if you can stomach it and enjoy the beautiful artistic vision. You know, we're saying this for a fucking gore film, but there's an artistic presence to it because it's like an artist working on a canvas. You know, because there's white sheets around and there's just painting and it's just human blood being spewed about, and it's making beautiful, beautiful images of bloodshed and just visceral aspect of human bodies and just tearing them apart and seeing the deconstruction of a body. Like, you literally see there's no watermelon here when you see something smashed. This is a fucking head. You know, this is a straight made skull, skin, bone, blood, everything. Hair. This is practical as practical can get to make it look as human as possible. And when they crack that open, a rib cage, and pull out intestines or rip something apart or skin something or something's bleeding profusely, this isn't cheap effects. This is as real as it could look, and it does not shy away. You are seeing people getting covered and rooms getting covered in blood. It is fucking insane. But Ian, any final thoughts on Septic?
I kind of think we kind of covered everything, and we're about to chase our tails. So.
But yeah, that is going to do it for this year's Indie-Pendence Horror Marathon. I think it's managed to be a decent marathon. I think we ended on a high note. And I'm looking forward. Again, it takes a while for Brain Paulin to make a film. Like I said, it took 5 years. I mean, the last film he did was Septic. I mean, he did Morbid Tales, but that was more of his short films that he made early days and then made a wraparound story. But this is like his newest feature. So it takes a while, but you know what you're going to get with a Brain Paulin film. And I'd suggest Fetus for those wanting something a little bit. Again, it hits heavy too because it deals with loss and grief and what it takes to get someone back. And there's just a great scene in that. I don't want to give it away for those because when I watched it, because I went in blind and that scene happened, it was just like fuck yeah. And it really took, because I watched it during October. It was the first thing, like, well, I don't think anything's going to top that. And it didn't. So definitely watch Fetus and then work your way around the rest of his films. I mean, Bone Sickness is pretty plain Jane zombie film, but it has some good gore. Again, Blood Pigs is a little out there. Cryptic Plasm, it's decent body horror, but it just takes a while to get to the meat and potatoes, if you will. But yeah, I definitely recommend Fetus and Septic for those wanting to dive a little deeper into Brain Paulin films. And I'm sure, again, Ian, if you want, I'm sure you're going to be interested in his other works now, just to see what they are. And maybe Fetus. You can just grab your own copy of Fetus. But yeah, you can get all this stuff on his eBay page, Morbid Vision Films. Just again, if you just type in the films, it'll be right there on his page, Septic 2022, and buy your own copy. Send a message directly, and ask him to autograph it, and you'll have your own copy of Septic if you can handle it. But nonetheless, Ian, I'm going to call that a show. It's been great talking about this film with you, and I'm sure we could have went more into it, but I didn't want to give everything away because this is just one of those where you just have to step back and let it take you in, and just you're going through a car wash with the windows down. Basically, but it's not soap; it's blood. You know, you're just like, fuck yeah. You know, this is like going to fucking Evil Dead the musical and just being lathered in blood, you know, or something like that. Or Gallagher watching the watermelons splat all over the place and you're just sitting there without a sheet over you, you know. Just one of those films where you're just like, yeah, I'm going to take this, you know. Or a water park, you know, where the boat comes down the plume and just stand there on top and just let all the water hit you on the bridge type of thing, where you're just like, I could stand over here underneath the guard, you know, the plexiglass and not get wet, but you know what? I'm daring today. I'm going to get covered in fucking water and just soaked. You know, this is that, but with blood and gore. But yeah, Ian, as always, it's great talking with you. I'm looking forward to whatever we do next. It's been a while since we managed to do 4 in a row, so hopefully we can keep the ball rolling. And it's been fun. So thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time on Horror Not Oasis.
Good night.
Mobile me, I'm heading up, a proud head in the clouds, and mountains in the eyes. Welcome, perfect surface. Oh, how I long to touch your skin.